What's going on, everyone? Brad here, and in this video I'll be talking about my overall impressions of the 85-inch Vizio P-Series Quantum X TV. Sound good? Then let's get started. So just a heads up, this video will mainly be me talking with some minor B-roll thrown in here and there. I will be doing a full review of this TV eventually with a bunch of sexy B-roll shots showcasing the TV, but I really wanted to get this video out for those of you who may be on the fence or in the market for a TV, as I do think that this particular Vizio P-Series line is definitely one worth considering. Now, I've been a fan of Vizio for a while now, ever since they launched their higher end sets, really. They initially started out as a budget brand many years ago, but more recently got into the higher end LED and OLED market, going up against the big brands such as Sony, Samsung, and LG. Now, previously, I owned the 65-inch Vizio P-Series set that came out in 2016, more specifically the P85C1. I was and still am impressed with the picture quality on that set, but both my wife and I wanted a bigger display, and I wanted some of the more forward-looking features like variable refresh rate, 4K 120 support for gaming, and higher peak brightness for HDR content. So naturally, I leaned towards Vizio because of my previous experience with them, so when they announced that their 85-inch P-Series Quantum X set would finally be released, I was pretty stoked and I wanted to give it a shot as soon as we could afford it. I did buy the set myself with my own money from Costco for a sale price of around $2,500. Now, this won't be a full review video. That will be coming later and will be more in-depth and cover things like sound quality and the TV's built-in smart features. And I am sorry for the lack of movie clips in this video when talking about picture quality. I just rather avoid any potential copyright issues. So now that we have that little backstory out of the way, let's go over some things that I like about this TV and some things that might need a little work. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel and are into home theater and gaming like I am, consider subscribing as I post new videos every week. And if you'd like to help the channel out even more and shop on Amazon anyway, consider using any of my affiliate links in the description, which I get a small commission from. This doesn't cost you a dime and really helps the channel out. So right off the bat, this TV is massive. I expected that coming from a 65-incher, but the wow factor of getting an 85-inch TV in your home is definitely real. If you're looking at an 85-inch TV in a store or showroom, be prepared with just how much larger it seems when you get it home. Now, standard dynamic range content does look excellent, but where this TV really shines is with HDR stuff. The peak brightness is pretty unreal and a major step up from my previous Vizio. Things like sun reflections and windshields and glints off of swords look super realistic and have a distinct pop similar to what you see in real life. This is helped out tremendously by the deep black levels. Honestly, this impressed me as much as the peak brightness did. The 85-inch version of the Quantum X has 792 local dimming zones, and it definitely shows. I actually freaked myself out a little bit when I first got it because I was playing a movie and the scene faded to black. The screen went completely dark and I thought the TV had shut itself off, so I panicked, but nope. It was just a local dimming working its magic. When watching movies with letterbox bars, the bars are completely black when watching SDR and HDR content in a dark room, though there's an issue with certain Dolby Vision titles that I'll touch on in a minute. I didn't notice too much blooming when using local dimming set to medium, but it does show up here and there, though it doesn't take me out of the overall experience. Overall picture quality, though, is generally excellent, and I don't have the red tint issue that RTings had on their 75-inch set. For gaming, the picture quality is equally as good. Even better is the input lag. Now, my old Vizio had something like 40 milliseconds of input lag when playing a game in HDR, and that was with game mode on. This TV has around 13 to 14 milliseconds of input lag when playing in SDR and HDR with game mode enabled, and it's something I immediately noticed. Everything is just super responsive. I was also able to test and verify that 4K and 120 frames per second work using a PS5 and an HDMI 2.1 cable. There is an issue when game mode is turned on at 120 frames per second in that it skips every other frame, so you essentially get 60 frames per second. However, turning game mode off gets you true 120 frames per second, and the input lag feels identical to how it felt with game mode on, and the improved motion is definitely noticeable when I tested out Black Ops Cold War. I do want to briefly touch on how this set handles motion because I noticed it came up a lot when doing my research on this TV. Honestly, it's no better or worse than what I experienced on my previous Vizio, and motion seems identical, only on a larger scale. There is some judder when playing back 24 frames per second content, and in my experience, Setting Jutter Reduction to 2 gets rid of the most annoying bits without giving it that soap opera look. So what about the negative aspects of this TV? Well, there are some quirks and bugs that still need to be worked out. Backlight flickering is another thing that came up during my research, with many reporting that it's really only noticeable when playing HDR10 content. Honestly though, I've only noticed some minor flickering when playing video games in SDR, and I've been able to fix it by lowering local dimming to low and raising the backlight to 50. I haven't noticed any flickering with HDR content at all. I'm not saying it's not there, but I've never noticed it when playing Outriders in HDR for 25 plus hours or watching any HDR10 movies. Another bug is that the enhanced viewing angle setting likes to turn itself back on when you turn off the set and turn it on again. This setting is meant to improve the viewing angles of the set, which honestly doesn't really work that well, but in doing so, it drops the horizontal resolution, which is something I definitely don't want. This bug is tied to the variable refresh rate setting for some reason, and an easy workaround is to go into every picture mode and make sure that VRR is set to either off or on all of them. It doesn't matter what you choose, they just have to be the same across all picture modes. Once I did this, I haven't had the enhanced viewing angle setting turn itself back on ever since. But the biggest issue I've noticed so far is that certain Dolby Vision titles have elevated black levels, causing the image to look washed out. This is definitely noticeable, especially if a movie has letterbox bars. Using this pause frame from Zack Snyder's Justice League as an example, you can see that the pillar box bars on the left and right look gray, and that the black levels within the content itself are elevated as well. Now switching over to the HDR10 version, and the issue is completely resolved. This issue affects both streaming and disc media regardless of device, and like I said earlier, it's only on certain Dolby Vision titles, not all of them. I think it may come down to the version of Dolby Vision that these movies use, with the Vizio not reading the metadata properly. Now this should be easily fixable via a firmware update, but Vizio needs to be made aware of this issue. But honestly, this is just me speculating on what it could be and why it's doing it. Now I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you're interested in what picture settings I'm using on the TV, let me know and I'll try to get out a quick video about it. Thank you for watching everyone, and I will catch you in the next one.